just found out this week that I technically now also work for Dick's Sporting Goods since they literally just bought Foot Locker. So exciting, but kind of a little different. So yeah, this week now I have two additional titles. Anywho, so my name is Alex. I'm going to give you guys a little intro about who I am, and I'll give you the preview. The presentation today is going to be more, I would say, around there's strategy in here, but it's more tactical. So like all of the stuff that we're going to cover in this presentation, you don't have to have any extra licenses. You don't have to have any extra add-ons to your internet. Like if you're working with a really tight budget, which I have struggled with before, these are all things that you can do within Microsoft 365 that you have access to today. So wanted to preface with that. All right, so a little bit about me. I am a tech strategist. I have almost going on 9 years of Microsoft 365 experience. So I started out in the marketing and advertising world. It was super fun, and then halfway through my career, I stumbled on an internal comms role, and I was hooked at that point. I loved it because it kind of blends marketing and people, which are my two favorite things. So now I just get to market to employees, which is a lot more fun to me at least. So that's kind of my background. It's definitely more on the marketing side, but the last 5 to 6 years, it's much more focused of employee experience. And then this current role that I have at Foot Locker, I'm over tech strategy, employee experience, and communications for Foot Locker's IT org. So we have about 1,000-person IT org, and I manage all the comms and channels and things for that. And then I do partner with corporate comms because I am the Microsoft specialist when it comes to employee communication tools. So I'm kind of like split half and half. And then most recently, definitely a co-pilot champion. I do have a website I'll show you guys at the end, but there's a lot of different organizations that I'm involved with, specifically around Microsoft Copilot and then Microsoft like Copilot Chat. Okay, so here's a little preview of the products we're going to cover. The only one I don't think we're going to get to is Loop, which if you guys reach out to me afterwards and you want to, hear about Loop, I do have a little mini deck that I can send you on it. It's just more of an internal comms tool tip that I wanted to give, but I don't think we're going to get to it, but I will send you information on it if you are interested. But we're going to go over Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, Copilot, and Viva Engage in terms of how you work all those things together for a really good communication strategy. So why M365 for internal comms? And the basic answer I give people is unification. Everything talks to everything. Everything is connected. It's all linked. It's all in sync. And it creates a better employee experience when you are utilizing all of those tools in the right ratio and the right mix to get something that works for you and your organization. So we're going to start with Teams. It sounds like there's a lot of Teams heavy people in here, which is great. But you can leverage Teams with other tools. So you can leverage SharePoint with Teams. You can leverage Viva Engage, Copilot, and a few other tools too inside of Teams. And it's what we have found at our organization is we are very Teams heavy. We're not super Outlook heavy. And so the nice part about Teams is there's tool pairing. And I'm going to show you guys and walk you through how these tools integrate and how you can reach people right where they're working. But for the sake of this presentation, we are going to focus more on if your org is a little more Teams heavy. And so what we were finding is when I first started on with Foot Locker, we had no communication strategy. There were no channels set up. It was just the wild, wild west. Like anybody could send an email to 1,000 people if they wanted, which is terrifying as an internal comms person. Like that is horrifying to know that somebody has the big red button. So it was kind of a hot mess when I came in. And so what we found is after doing some surveying and honestly just I met with all of the special interest groups inside of IT because we have a very large IT org and figured out, okay, how are we working? And basically, the main factor was, all right, we're all living out of Teams. We barely use Outlook. It's mostly Teams is where we're living. So with that in mind, I decided to come up with a strategy of, okay, how can we make sure that the communications we're doing, they're reaching people right inside of where they're living all day long? Because as an internal comms person, your role is a little bit harder because it's not you're trying to market to someone who is not naturally looking for your information. Like you're having to reach them where they're working. You're having to not interrupt their day, but make it engaging enough to where they do look at it and they do see it, and it doesn't just get jumbled up in the mess of all other communications. So it's a little more strategic to me than marketing per se. So I'm going to show you guys some examples of when I talk about reaching people inside of Teams. So the first example is a SharePoint news post. So if you have your notifications set up right, which you can work with IT to get this set up, ours automatically does it. Most people's do. But if you, and I'll show you guys how to do a news post too, but I just wanted to show you what the notification looks like. Whenever I post a news post inside of our SharePoint, a notification goes to our employees inside of their team's activity. So where you see people like your chat or mention you in a chat, right there inside your team's activity, we are reaching them when it comes to our intranet. So our intranet is talking to Teams. So people don't have to go to the web browser and type in the intranet location or even leave Teams to see the news and communication that we want them to see. And so when you utilize that feature, you're reaching them right where they work, and they can scroll and they can like and they can comment right inside of Teams, and they never have to leave. And I will say, when it comes to our news posts and our SharePoint, like newsletters and stuff, we have a 70% open rate, which is crazy for 1,000 people. Like that's crazy. And the reason is because I centralize everything out of Teams. And it's very easy. The survey feedback we've gotten is, I love it. I don't even have to like exit my Teams chat. I just look at my activity. I see the news post. I see the announcement. I see the emergency notice. Don't even have to interrupt my workday. It comes right to me right where I'm at. So that is one way that SharePoint and Teams integrate. And like I said, you can see over here, you can even have it gives you a nice preview of what the communication is too. And our logo, so our main intranet hub is called My Locker Room. We have a sub-site underneath My Locker Room. So the logo that you choose is what, that's what it'll come across. But for us, it's Locker Room. That's the name of our intranet. And just showing you that it's right there inside your Teams window. Here's another example. So when we launched Copilot Chat, you can see again, it's inside the Teams activity. I can see that somebody liked the news post, and it's right there inside of Teams. They never even have to leave. And then Viva Engage is the same way. So Viva Engage, you can pin inside of your Teams sidebar, which is really nice. Same thing with SharePoint. You can do that as well. And whenever I have to have some of it blocked out, but this is a notification that you can see. But whenever you do an announcement feature inside of Viva Engage, they get a notification inside their Teams activity. So it notifies them the same way. And you get a preview of it. You can see, this is my coworker Cam. In case you missed it, we dropped a new podcast episode. When you click on that, it brings you, again, I haven't left Teams. It's right here inside of it. And you can watch the video right inside of Teams. So we are careful with the announcement feature. This goes back to kind of what other speakers have talked about. It's balance, it's ratio. You don't want to saturate it. You want, when people see an announcement, you don't want them to be like, oh my God, another announcement. Like the whole point of an announcement is you want them to look at it. So we do try to balance those communications. And sometimes like we won't do an announcement, we'll just post. But if there is an important communication that you need to reach your employees for, the announcement feature inside Viva Engage is really helpful. And we have multiple communities, so people can favorite them. They can add them to their sidebar if they want. But ours is Global Technology Solutions. That's what our IT org is called. But people, after 9 months of consistency with Viva Engage, we are now actually starting to see other communities blossom. So people are just now creating communities on their own. We have one called GitHub Copilot, which is a coding platform for IT people. And just on their own, they created a GitHub Copilot community. So when you start to see people creating their own communities, that's a really great it's a nice indicator or a good milestone to know that adoption is going successfully, because you want people to create their own communities. That's the whole point. Like I'm a part of one called Pets of Foot Locker. And is that work related? Absolutely not. But everybody loves dog photos, and it's a good time, and it makes everybody feel connected when a lot of us are remote. So it's really nice. But if I can tell you, when you are consistent enough, people now know, okay, our Viva Engage community, like I need to be checking on it because important information is being posted there. It's not just a fun hub. It's actually a news source. Oh, I did forget this. Sorry. So you can actually, same thing with SharePoint, you can live react inside of Teams again. So I hearted this and you can comment right inside of Teams. Never have to leave Teams. You can interact with the post right inside of there. And we have about a 90% visual rate when it comes to Viva Engage. So 90% of people see the post whenever it's an announcement, which is pretty awesome. Okie doke. So SharePoint, we've heard a lot about SharePoint today. So I'm not going to labor what the definition is and stuff, but there is a difference between a team site and a communication site. And obviously, it sounds like a lot of us were functioning with communication sites. It's that central hub of information, right? So within within SharePoint, this is an example of a team site because some people they've never experienced a team site. So this is what it looks like. It's more for like functional projects and teams. Like if, you have an org that's over, like we have an app team that does our Foot Locker app. They have a team site and it's more for project sharing files, things like that. It's not meant to be a source of truth for information. It's really for just that team, right? And it'll say up here private group. So not just anybody, can go to this site. Whereas a communication site looks like this. I just have our news stuff blocked out, but I have a news web part. But this is what a comm site looks like. And this is our IT hub org. And you can see we have tiles marked here. I have quick links for things that people go to. I have our tiles up here that are for those quick links that people are looking for, like portfolio and division stuff. Go back, hang on. Sorry, went by too fast. So yeah, so we have it broken down, and again, this is just for IT. So we do live under My Locker Room, which Andrea was talking about hers from like they are the big parent hub site. We are a baby of our hub site. So you can reach our site from My Locker Room, but it is our own IT org separate site, if that makes sense. So, but all of this design wise, like you can do right inside of SharePoint. And it's really not too hard. The other feature that is really nice is when you do a news post. So again, back to the notification that people get inside Teams. How you do that is you just click new, and instead of new page, you'll hit new news post. And I believe there's even more than this now, but Microsoft just launched a bunch of brand new news post templates. So if you're new to design, if you're new to how things come together inside of SharePoint, they're really making it a lot easier now to get started, and they have a lot of great templates that you can utilize. And I start with templates a lot just to speed up. I've been doing it for 8 years, but it does speed up my workflow. And so just as a reminder, once you post and send that news post out, you get that notification inside Teams. And so it's really convenient and it's really nice that it's all connected. And then this is an example too. So whenever you do a news post, there's a timer within Microsoft. And if like a person, for example, maybe they haven't checked their Teams in a while, they will get an email of that news post as well. So even the people that maybe you have some fringe that are really still functioning out of Outlook, no problem. You can send your news post to people in Outlook, and the same thing, they can live react, they can like it, they can comment it, they can view it right inside of Teams. So that is the nice part about SharePoint news posts too, is you do have the option to email it out to the broader org if you want to. So you are still reaching those people. So recap of SharePoint, you do want it to be your source of truth. Pages allow you to design, content and sources of information. News posts are a great way to reach employees right where they're working in Teams, Outlook, or even inside of SharePoint itself. And integrating SharePoint with Teams, for me, I can tell has been a crucial success factor when it comes to adoption and change behavior, right? Like at the end of the day, as a change management person, my job is I have to drive behavioral change. And the key way to do that is to reach people right where they're at. It's an olive branch and it makes your life a lot easier. Coming from experience, it makes it a lot easier. Okay, we're going to touch on Viva Engage. So Viva Engage again, what's the business use case? It's a community, right? It can be a great place for um, announcements and news features, but it's also a great place for driving culture. Like a lot of people, just friends I have in the Microsoft community, once COVID hit, right now we're all hybrid. A lot of people are still remote. I mean, I'm in my house right now. It kind of put a divide in things, right? So Viva Engage to me has helped kind of bridge that gap when it comes to community, and it helps foster a sense of belonging in terms, and it's a great tool to utilize for driving culture. It's great for announcements, and we use it for that. But the best use cases I've seen is it helps drive culture within an org and within a company. And so creating an announcement in Viva Engage, which remember, that's the activity that you saw inside of your teams. You get that Teams activity notification. Whenever you are creating, this is just a test site. Whenever you're creating a post inside of a Viva Engage community, if you click this little speaker phone guy down here, it will give people an email and it will also give them a Teams notification. So you don't have to notify people in Teams all the time. I don't. I pick and choose very strategically which notifications people get because again, you don't want them getting overwhelmed, but you do want them to get these important announcements and things that you want them to look at. So you do have a choice of when do they get notified in Teams and and when do they not, and you can kind of you can make that judgment call based on your teams and your organization. And so again, just back to this, you can live react inside. So I loved this, and you can write a comment, right inside Teams. And then this is just an example of how you can have Viva Engage pinned inside your Teams. So we basically just kept driving engagement to it, and we just kept telling people like, hey, it was consistency over 9 months. It didn't happen overnight, but we basically told people like, hey, this is an official comms channel. If you want notifications, if you want information about what's going on, stuff from our CTO, like it's going to be inside of this app. And so we basically had the whole org embedded inside of their teams. And this is just a look of what the Viva Engage post looks like inside of your email. So you can see right here, it was a Viva Engage post, and I liked it right inside of Outlook. And you can also leave a live comment. So again, we're reaching people right where they are. And last but not least, Copilot chat. So there was some question in the chat earlier about Copilot. I'll tell you what we're doing from a Foot Locker and Dick's Sporting Goods perspective. So I'm on the team that's spearheading AI at Foot Locker. And right now, everybody has Copilot chat inside of their teams. Like it's just a standard thing that you get with your M365 license. So the first step for us is I've laid out a change management and a communications plan for Copilot chat, security guidelines, how we do this. And this is, I have to partner with corporate comms on this. So we've been working hand in hand. But first, teaching people about Copilot, like just getting them familiar with it, because there's a lot of people that they don't live in the Microsoft world, right? So they need some training, they need some coaching. So that's kind of part one. The second part is we have a beta licensing going on. And I encourage that with a lot of people because we have a small number of people that have a full Microsoft 365 Copilot license, which is where it integrates inside of all your apps. And we are exploring agents right now. So my goal is in the next year or two is to have a SharePoint agent. So if somebody gets on our SharePoint site and they're looking for something, they can chat with the SharePoint agent and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a training video on Copilot. Do you guys have that?" And the agent will only feed you information that it knows it has access to. So if I'm asking for financial data, it's not going to give me that. You can set up the agent based on, what you want it to do. But anywho, that's kind of the scope that we're looking at is we're looking at these use cases. We're working with other organizations throughout Foot Locker, law, marketing, HR, obviously IT, finance, procurement, those areas. And we're building those use cases and building out, what does success look like with Copilot? And so I am happy to talk to anybody about that afterwards. It's a very active thing that we're doing, but yeah, but we're going to focus on Copilot chat just for right now because it's something that everybody has access to. So it is available right inside Teams. It's also available online. You can choose how you want to access it, but it does empower communicators to move a lot faster. Um, when it comes to Copilot Chat, how you can use it to your advantage is one, it can draft messages a lot faster for you. You give it the context, you give it what your goal is, what success looks like, and boom, and you feed it, what maybe your style is that you guys you utilize in language. Like ours is very fun and casual because we're a sporting goods brand, so ours is a little more not as serious, so that's I feed Copilot that information and then I refine the tone. And then if I have to translate it in another language, Copilot can do that too. And you always want to check what AI gives you, but it does give you a great starting point. Another thing that I use it for selfishly, because I'm in a lot of meetings with a lot of different people, since we're comms, right? We have a lot of stakeholders. You can download meeting transcripts, upload it into Copilot Chat, and ask it to pull out like a summary of the meeting, pull out any key deliverables, who is responsible for what are the next action steps. Copilot chat can pull all of that out for you, and it's really great for putting back in the chat. Okay, everybody, just as a recap, here's what we covered, and you do have that documentation. If 2 weeks later you're like, shoot, I forgot, like what did we talk about? Because you probably talk about a lot of things when it comes to comms. So that's a selfish thing I use it for. And then content generation. So we all have days where, we've just become content dead because we're generating so much content all the time. And so I love using Copilot Chat for engagement. Like, hey, what are some stories that I could write about? What are some interesting Viva Engage posts that I could try to help drive, this initiative for our culture? And it'll give you a bunch of different scenarios. A real world scenario would be maybe you're launching a DEI campaign. And because we all have internal comms campaigns, right? We've got the standalone like normal comms and then emergency communications, right? But then we've got initiatives, right? And those are where your internal comm campaigns kind of live. Whether, like for us, for example, one of our campaigns that we have is Own Your Stride. And it's kind of like a slogan for our IT org. And so there is a whole Own Your Stride campaign that I work on separate from just our normal day-to-day like employee communications. But it can help you draft the announcement, give you ideas for Viva Engage. It can even give you visual ideas like, hey, how could I visually represent what this looks like? And sometimes it'll spit you back out a pretty decent, flow chart of something. And it can help automate and summarize a lot of these things for you and categorize them as well. So from an organizational standpoint, it's super, super helpful. And it just helps you get a jump start. It's not, to me, Copilot helps you speed up your productivity without sacrificing quality, because that's the goal, right? If you're going fast and the content is kind of, half baked, well, that's not really good, right? You don't want to have not productive content. And so what I found with Copilot Chat is that it helps me get a jump start on things faster, but my quality is staying the exact same. And so that to me is my advice to you as a communicator is help it do some of these upfront tasks. It'll give me a PowerPoint outline for things ahead of time. And so it helps kind of speed that up. And so last but not least, if you guys want to scan the QR code, feel free. I do have a website. I have a blog where I blog all about Microsoft stuff all the time. It's my fave thing. I'm a nerd for it. And I just literally launched an ebook this week about Copilot. So if you're interested in it, and whoever attended this conference, like you guys can get it for free. I'll email it to you. Just fill out the form on my website, and I'll email you guys the PDF if you guys want it. All right. That is it. We tried to leave
Awesome.
some good time for comms or questions.
Well, that's a good idea because you have a ton of questions.
Oh,
So
okay. Hang on. Let me look.
let's start with
Okay.
Mandy. She asks, are employees able to opt in or out of certain Viva Engage notifications?
Yes, they are. Yes, yes, yes. So, they can set their own uh parameters. So like, I personally, I don't like it because if there's important information I'm trying to get to you and you've turned off notifications, that's not ideal, but I do understand it. And so they do have the ability to turn off notifications, but I I'm almost positive they can't turn off. I think email is where you can still reach them. But how I've kind of tackled that is one, I don't over communicate in there. I don't overuse that announcement feature. Like I've made it very clear that that announcement feature is when people, it's something you need to look at. Whether we've had a change or there's an outage or whatever it is, anything that's important. And I think that that is how I've kept people from turning off their notifications is they're not just blown up by it. Because I think that's the fear, right? Is like, I don't want to get notified by 20 different communities. And they don't get notifications from all these communities. They're only getting notifications from communities that they're a part of. So some
Mm,
random person is not getting notifications from pets at Foot Locker if they are a member of that community. So I've kind of got an olive branch of like, hey, just be a part of the GTS one. You don't have to do anything else. Just be a part of the news one where we can reach you. And it seems to have gone over pretty well.
awesome. And can you track engagement on posts like for podcasts you share on Teams? And is single sign-on available in SharePoint?
Okay, track engagement posts on like uh
Julie, do you want to pop off it, mute and ask your question?
yeah, I just want to make sure I understand.
Well, what I meant, I think you kind of answered that question after I posted, but I was just curious, is like when you share a post on Teams, like for example, the one that you
Mhm.
shared in your slide presentation of a podcast that had just dropped. So are you able to tell like how many people actually saw that post on Teams,
Yes.
and engaged with it? That's what I was
Yes.
curious about.
Yes, yes. So you can. So what I encourage is if you're going to do videos and podcasts, use Stream. Use it, use the Microsoft tool because it integrates with everything easier. And so when you do that notification, you can see viewership inside of Stream. You can even see in Stream where people drop off. So we finally had to like tell our CTO, hey, nobody's listening to these 20-minute freaking podcasts. Like nobody has time for this shit. Like sorry to say that. And he was like, oh, and when we showed him the data, that people dropped off at about 5 minutes. Now we've switched to 5 minute podcasts and everybody and we have like 90% viewership that stays. So you can absolutely see that you can see that tracking inside of Stream. And then when it comes to like Viva Engage, you can still see that tracking inside of Viva. And same thing with SharePoint. You can still see the click rate. You can see the amount of people that visited the page from your communication. So all those platforms you can.
Great. Thanks.
Perfect. And Julie, single sign-on is available in SharePoint.
Yes.
You will still get the single sign-on's a
Yeah.
bold word because you still get the little pop-up with the email and all of that kind of stuff, but
Good.
it does support
That's a
it for
good thing
sure.
because I know like with my organization, we do have an intranet, but it's in WordPress. And
Oh, okay.
so
Oh,
they
okay.
have to think we would love to have the single sign-on feature, but right now our IT department says we can't actually do that right now at this time, but it would be awesome because it does impact engagement because people forget their logins and
Oh
things like
yeah.
that. So I
A
was just,
hundred percent.
I
yeah.
forget my login and I live inside of it. So
I think it really goes back to Alex's first point, right? Which is unification, and you're in Teams, you're in your intranet, you're in Viva Engage, you're in Word, you're in PowerPoint. Like that's kind of the real benefit.
Mhm.
Another question for you. Are you worried about people creating communities then abandoning them? Is there a retention policy for your communities? And that was asked by Andrea.
In terms of retention policy, no, not yet. We might in the future since it's only been like going on a year of Viva Engage. But in terms of like worried about abandoning them, I would say no, and here's why. The I have made it my mission to be, the Viva Engage champion. And the more, and we've talked about champions in the last like couple presentations, and find those culture champions. Because to me, again, like Viva Engage is great for comms, but it really is an amazing culture driver. And we encourage people to post inside of Viva. Like we don't make it this thing where like only, the comms team can post inside of here. Like we want it to be a flourished and fed place. And so I would say that the people that usually start other communities, they're highly engaged employees. They're passionate. They've started it because they care about it, and they personally take up that mantle and feed that community. Like our Copilot, our GitHub Copilot community has just taken off with our engineers. And again, it's people that are more engaged. And so those champions we're finding they are drawing more engagement from maybe the not so super engaged people. And we're
Mm.
watching these other people start these communities, and it's encouraging others to do it. They're like, oh, other people are doing this, so I guess I could do it now. They're not as shy about it, I guess. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
We've also seen clients where they have a champion for every community, kind of like you're talking about. But if the champion doesn't want to do it anymore and there's nobody to pick up the mantle, then they may kind of basically not shut down the community, but
Yeah.
basically archive it. And so the idea is that if there's nobody who really wants to nurture it and move it forward, then that might be a good kind of sign that
Yeah.
maybe it's time to kind of look at it and new communities grow.
Yep.
Daisy asked, does a news post automatically send a notification to Teams, or do you have to enable something to make that happen?
So for us, SharePoint and Teams like automatically is set up to do that. I believe you have to actually like turn that off. And a lot of it too is algorithm based. So
Mm,
you want to make sure that, to the best of your ability, that you have the ability on SharePoint to follow a certain site. So we made sure that our org was following our GTS site. And so most of the time you get a notification anyway, because if any type of news post goes out from your hub site, whether it's a sub site that lives under the big hub, they're going to get a notification. But for some reason, if you're finding like, hey, certain people are not getting notified, once they follow your site and you just heart it, it literally you go to my sites under SharePoint and then you just click the little heart. We noticed then people started getting notifications. So they should
mm,
automatically get it, but if they don't, try to drive behavior to follow the site. And then we started seeing people that maybe didn't access SharePoint a whole lot. They started getting the notifications.